okay, you want fat loss. You want fat loss. Okay. I know so many of you say, I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. But what you want to lose is fat. You don't want to lose muscle. You don't want to lose bone. Okay. You want to lose fat. But I am telling you, hindsight is 2020. So welcome to this week's edition of Menopause Made Easy with Tanya. And I am going to share with you the last 20 years that I wish I had known. And I have been thinking about this and I've consolidated it for you. I'm going to do part one this week, part two next week. What you need to do before fat loss for long-term results. All right, so welcome, my beautiful ladies. We're going to ditch some confusion and some overwhelm today, and we're going to start thriving in midlife because many of us are carrying too much fat. But what do we have to do before we tackle a fat loss program? Okay, and today's episode is a little personal. Like I said, hindsight is 2020. I'm going to share with you some of my mistakes and action plans. And if I could sit down with my younger self over a nice cup of tea, I'd say, Tanya, get your emotional, stress, and social eating under control before you even think about tackling fat loss. Okay? And remember, it's fat you want to lose, not your precious muscle or bone. And as many of you know, I wrote a book called Cookie Dough in the Dark that really talked about my struggles with emotional, social, sugar. I wasn't, over consuming broccoli or anything like that. So I was unwinding all of this in my 30s. But I still was too scattered, trying to lose weight, didn't understand the difference between fat and muscle loss, even though I've been a trainer since I've been like 23 years old. Nutrition, I have nutrition courses out the yin yang. I have certifications. I've been working with women. But this is what I realized is that we live in such a powerful time right now where if you start to connect the threads, I use this analogy in my midlife reboot coaching calls, and you have a thread over here and you have a thread over here and a thread here, and you start to actually crochet or knit all those threads together, you begin to see like a sweater. You begin to see the big picture, right? And so when you don't tackle the emotional stress, habitual social eating, you just keep going forward and back, gain, loss, gain, loss. Okay, you don't come up with a plan because you're not learning how to properly change at a deeper level. All right. So now I know I'm not the only one that has spent so much time obsessing over a number on a scale, which is just one measurement. I don't care if you weigh yourself. I really don't, but it's one measurement. It measures your whole body. It doesn't differentiate fat and muscle and bone, which I think is really important. So there's bioimpedance scales. They're a little bit better because they're going to give you those measurements, but there's, a lot of variability between the quality of scales. The only thing that's really going to move the needle to really know what you're made of is a DEXA scan where you get your muscle and your bone. I've not had one of those yet because I can't find a place currently to do that, but it is on my radar. Okay, so I used to obsess over a number on a scale, but just because you're losing weight doesn't mean it's from fat. It can be from water, it can be from muscle. All right. So raise your hand if you have been obsessed with your scale. I've worked with a lot of women who are obsessed with their scale. Okay. So, and I was chasing weight loss like it was the Holy Grail. I will say that. And I was not realizing that true progress meant understanding my habits and preserving my muscle mass. Now, I've flipped the switch for the last, 10, 15 years, but now I can actually articulate what I want to say. Okay, so I'll be honest with you that chasing the number on a scale or even just coming up with a fat loss plan without addressing emotional, social, habitual eating is a losing battle. Okay, it's frustrating, it's disheartening, it's an endless loop. Does that sound familiar? Like, you get on and then you crash down. You can't quite figure out how to make it sustainable. And that's what I'm all about, sustainable fat loss. Okay, so in my mid 30s, after I had children, I really had a breakthrough. I had a massive mindset. Again, my book, Cookie Dough in the Dark, addresses some of this. I shifted gears. I let go of dieting. I let go of pushing. I let go of controlling. I let go of criticizing myself. And I started to welcome in compassion and curiosity and grace and fun, right? And love for me. And that changed everything. I stopped chasing weight loss and I started embracing vibrant health. And if you know me, I have my Vibrant Living company. I talk about vibrant health. Your health is way more important than a number on a scale. Okay? Do not wish to be thin. Do not wish to be thin. Wish to be lean and strong and healthy and vibrant and energetic. All right. So, your mindset makes all the difference. And if you can really get into compassion, curiosity, fun, grace, all those things I've talked about, it will really help you. So today I'm going to walk you through 4 powerful steps that you can take before starting a fat loss journey. And I will tell you that during these steps, you may see your clothes start to feel looser. Okay, you may or may not see the scale shift. I'm not even concerned about that because I'll save that for another podcast. Okay, so it's really important to identify your emotional, social, and stress eating situations. So I'm going to cover 4 steps today, and then next week I'll share 4 more of you. All right, so the first thing to do, and I've talked about this for decades, okay, is you have to notice, identify your triggers and patterns. You have to see, when are you emotional eating? And emotional eating can be like stress, habitual, like it's all of these things kind of rolled into one. So you really, the label can be kind of emotional eating, but it can be stress, again, social, habitual. Okay, it doesn't come out of nowhere. So it usually has triggers. Something triggers you to eat when you are not hungry. And it's not a steak or an avocado. It's typically some carbohydrate. Okay, that's not good for us. All right, for our goals. And especially during perimenopause and menopause, our hormones can stir up all kinds of emotional storms. All right, so I have referred to this as peeling the layer of your onion. And when we're born, we're at the center of that onion. And then as we are going through life, we develop mechanisms, protection for ourselves that we eat when we feel a certain way, so we don't have to process those feelings because we don't even know how, right? So I'll give you an example. Say, for example, at the age of 4, you showed your mother some artwork and you had spent all day at kindergarten doing this artwork. You were so proud of it. You come home, you show your mother, and she looks at it and she's in a different frame of mind. She's had a really crazy day, and your mom says, "Oh, I've seen better." Okay, and you are crushed. You're crushed. You, as a 4-year-old, do not know how to express yourself. You don't have the words, you don't have the ability in all, maybe not, maybe some situations, but not all situations, to say, you know what, my mom's having a bad day. It's not about me. I'm not going to take this personally. Okay. A lot of us take things personally. Then you put a shell up, you put another layer on that onion. Okay. And then, you're dating a boyfriend and the boyfriend breaks up with you. You put another shell, you put a shell around your heart so you don't get hurt. Okay. You eat for comfort. So these layers and layers and layers come up. Now, in my 30s, I started to unpeel this onion. Okay. And I had to spend so much time identifying my triggers and patterns of what was I feeling? What did I do to protect myself? How have I used food, alcohol, distractions to not heal my inner self? How have I used food and then through using food, put on extra weight or fat over the years to protect myself? All right. So really, I'm not asking you to go through your childhood and try and figure out things. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you present day, if you are feeling a certain way, okay, this requires you to actually become like aware of yourself, to feel yourself and be like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling lonely. Okay, I'm feeling lonely. What could I do to ease this loneliness? Now, before, you may not have realized that you felt lonely. You just ate because you felt an uncomfortable feeling, right? And so now you go, I'm lonely and I feel like eating bread or chips, or I feel like having a glass of wine, or I feel like, because then I don't have to deal with this loneliness. I can distract myself with this numbing substance. Or I can choose to sit in this loneliness and take a look at, why do I feel lonely? Can I call a friend? Can I pet my dog? How can I, for the next 60 to 90 seconds, just allow myself time just to be in this feeling? A lot of things I get from women are boredom. Okay, I'm bored. Well, first of all, we can have a great conversation about this. What is boredom? What is boredom? I'm not going to talk about that. My husband and I have great conversations about that, but I'll save that for another podcast episode. But if you eat, it really doesn't fix boredom. It's something deeper. Okay. It's like connection. It's not be able to sit still with yourself. It's not being able to reduce the noise. Okay. So I want you to really step into noticing your triggers. Hormonal shifts. When you go through perimenopause, it's a shit storm, lady. It's a shit storm that I knew nothing about in my 40s. Did not understand this at all. I had anxiety, overwhelm. I didn't understand how progesterone makes you not able to handle things as well as you could when it was stable. There are so many things that I have learned that I wish that my 40-year-old self would have known, because it would have been a much easier transition, right? But instead, I distracted myself. I overate, I drank. I didn't know about hormones. So hormones are real. They are real. And I've done a lot of episodes, and I just shared some in the past with you, that I have chosen to do some hormones right now just to see how it feels in my body. So you can listen to those episodes. Notice your common triggers of stress, anxiety, boredom, which I just talked about. Notice your sleep. If you're not sleeping well, you're going to reach for snacks and food more to comfort you, to give you energy. Notice your low energy. So just really pay attention. Spend the time before you start thinking of your food and all this kind of stuff. Identify your triggers and patterns. So what I recommend is keeping a food and mood journal. So this is something that we have done in my Midlife Reboot program. You keep it for about a week or two, nothing fancy, just jot down what you're eating and how you're feeling before and after, and any stressors from the day, so you can start to really recognize your patterns. Okay. You'll start to see patterns emerge. Maybe it's late night snacking, okay, when you're feeling lonely, or grabbing sugary snacks and treats when you're feeling overwhelmed. But awareness, and I've talked about this for 20 plus years, awareness is one step, and it's a major first step to healing this. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. Step number one. Step number two is stress management before reaching for food. So this one is gold, and it's a game changer. When you feel that emotional pull towards food, I want you to pause. Okay. And I've talked about this again. Pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what am I really needing right now. And I call this my PBA technique. Pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what am I really needing right now? Are you tired? Are you frustrated? Do you need a hug? Do you need to step outside and get some fresh air? Do you need a glass of water? What do you need? And it's really interesting to notice the pull towards certain foods. So instead of diving into the pantry, try something from your stress relief toolbox, which we have talked about, right? So I'll repeat some of the examples again. Deep breathing, hold for like inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Just tap into your breathing. So you pause, you breathe, you can do a box breath, you can do alternating nose, nostril breathing, you can do whatever you want, okay? And then maybe if you don't think of that, you go for a short walk, you do some rolling. I cannot tell you how much rolling changed my life. Maybe do some stretching. Maybe you need to just meditate, okay? Maybe you need to journal. There's different tools. Like one works for one person, one works for the other. So you pick what works for you. And like I said, maybe it's just even a glass of water, because many of the times we are feeling thirsty, or sorry, when we're hungry, well, sorry, when we're not hungry, it's actually thirsty that we're feeling. Okay, so just really sit in this moment. And if you can give yourself at least 60 seconds to 90 seconds to change your state, dance, move around. But if you can give yourself 5 to 10 minutes to really allow yourself some time in between there, that would be very beneficial. Okay, so trust me that once you get in the habit of pausing and checking in, it becomes so much easier to break the emotional cycle of eating. It really does. And this is work, ladies. This is not a pill. You're not popping a pill. You're actually peeling the layers back in your onion, and you're stepping into your raw, authentic power. Okay, so step 3 is to focus on balancing your blood sugars. Okay. Oh my gosh. Again, I understood this on one level, but to actually integrate it into my life and feel it, again, I've been working on these things for a long time. Having unstable blood sugar levels is like throwing gasoline on the emotional eating fire. It creates intense cravings, mood swings, and honestly, who wants to battle that all day? I didn't, but I did for years. I did not have the capacity, the skills, the tools to be able to work through some of the things that I'm sharing with you today. Right. And so when I started to understand all of these, slow down and have some patience and really work through them, my life began to change. So instead of skipping meals or grabbing quick carb snacks, we want to focus on meals that balance blood sugars, and that means protein. So many of us are not getting enough protein. We need protein, fiber, and healthy fats. Okay, and I'll give you some examples in a minute. So the typical breakfast of my growing up, but not for the last 20 years, was like a bowl of cereal, bowl of oatmeal, English muffin, or some kind of bread with jam or honey and peanut butter. Okay, way too many carbs, completely unbalanced. All right, so what we want to have is like a protein packed breakfast of scrambled eggs with spinach. You could have some bacon on the side, okay, something like that. Some good, solid, real food. For a snack, you could have some Greek yogurt with chia seeds and some berries on top. I still really enjoy my lattes where I put protein powders and nuts in there and seeds. So I still enjoy those as well. But you just have to make sure it's balanced. Okay. And depending where you are starting from, okay, I am a proponent of fasting, but I'm a proponent of fasting with more emphasis on getting your calories at the beginning of your day as opposed to the end of your day. So I'm not, big on like skipping breakfast. I'm really like pull those calories in, get them in the front of the day. You're more insulin sensitive. Your body can handle it better. Eating late at night and It's not good. It's not good. So if you're fasting, you start eating from 2 and then you eat to 9 o'clock at night and you go to bed at 10. If you can shift that and start eating at 8 a.m. and stop at 5, or even start at 9 and stop at 6 or 7, far better for you. Okay. Um, so again, depending on where you are, if you are really unstable with your blood sugars, you may need to snack, okay, because you need to learn how to balance your blood sugars a little bit better. But as you progress, and this is what I've noticed with myself, you can actually stop snacking as much or not at all. So again, it really depends where you are starting from. All right. So at the beginning, if you skip meals, you may find that that leads to crashes, and crashes lead to cravings, and that's not good. So again, this is all very individual from where you are on your journey. Okay. Step number 4 is, I'm a sleep recovery coach, is sleep is super important. You have to prioritize and optimize your sleep quality. Okay. It's often overlooked, but it's huge. So when you're sleep deprived, your hunger hormones go haywire. You crave sugar, you feel hungrier, even when you're not. It's like your body begging you to overeat. Okay. So if you are not getting proper sleep, and again, as you are in your 40s, and maybe even some of you that are postmenopausal, you may not be sleeping as well as you once were due to your hormones. So I would, and instead of taking sleeping, which are just like Band-Aid, really go and get your hormones looked at. Like, get a plan for you to figure out how to get through the next 30, 40 years of your life. Okay. So you want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of solid sleep. And sleeping starts with creating a really good bedtime routine, not looking at your computer or your device and then going to bed. All right. So we want to power down our screens about 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Maybe it's longer for some of you. Try a calming tea like chamomile or some magnesium, or an Epsom salt bath. Okay. Make your room cool, dark, and cozy. So quality sleep is a superpower, especially in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. So do not overlook the importance of sleep. And it's really something interesting. I just came back from being away, and we drove into an ice storm in our area, and it was insane. Trees are down, trees are uprooted on our property. We had no power for 9 days. Thank goodness I have a wood burning stove and a fireplace, and we have a little wee generator that we could turn on for a couple hours that kept our fridges cold, and our water running, and we could flush our toilets and stuff like that. So it was a real return back to life. Before, we had no internet, we had no cell service, we had nothing, and it was no lights. Like, think about this for a minute. And I talked about this in my coaching call because there's several of us that went through this experience. And you go to bed earlier because there's no light, and you naturally just feel more tired, right? There's no noise. There is so much noise in our world right now, whether it's just like listening and looking and just humming and all of this kind of stuff, but just the quiet that happened mentally and physically. Now, I will say emotionally, not having power for 9 days, I felt a little scattered, because I wasn't grounded in any of my routines, which I really love. So it was kind of like, and there was also this, is it coming on today? No, right? So you were just kind of like, you were always in this jerky kind of, uh, kind of state. So it was actually a really interesting reflection. And just realized I had some naps, because our house was cold. I got into my bed, and I felt that I maybe don't nap enough when I'm tired. And that was a big one for me for a long time, is that I would eat instead of giving myself permission to have a nap in the afternoon. And I know many of you don't work from home, you don't have that option. And so you may feel that connection though between eating because you're actually sleepy, tired, or needing some energy. So again, we're all on this journey. It's you and you. It's you and you. So which one of those 4 steps could you start with? I'm going to tell you 4 more next week. And let's just recap. So before starting your fat loss program, okay, your fat loss plan, this is going to help you long-term sustainable, okay? Especially if you tend to emotionally eat or stress eat, you need to identify your triggers, practice stress relief before reaching for food, balance your blood sugars, prioritize your sleep. And these 4 steps lay the foundation for sustainable fat loss. So when you do start that 6 to 12 week fat loss phase, right? We go in phases. You go in, you go out. Okay, you'll be ready. You'll preserve muscle, you'll target your fat, and you'll feel good doing so. So next week, I'll be back with part 2, 4 more essential steps to help you create a long-term balanced approach to health and fat loss, okay, during perimenopause and menopause. And if this resonated with you, please leave a comment below. Please share this with somebody that you love that would really help them start to pull these pieces together to make them feel safer and more comfortable in their journey. And if it's in your heart, please leave me a review. It just helps other people find it. Share it with your friends. And I love hearing from you. So thanks for hanging out with me today, spending your time and energy with me. Be kind to yourself. You're doing amazing things, one step at a time. And until next time, everybody, you've been listening to Menopause Made Easy with Tanya, and I will see you in the next video.